Welcome to Pimpy's Investment Chat, where we keep investment talk simple. And here's your host, Pimpy.
What is going on out there, peeps, man? This is some good news. We talked about this. I spoke about this. It was a feeling that I had, and it looks like it might actually happen. What are we talking about? Stay tuned.
Hey folks, just a quick reminder that back in 2008 and 9, a lot of people lost all of their retirement savings in their 401ks and IRAs because they did not own gold and silver. Yeah, that's right. Gold and silver protects you from a market crash. So do yourself a favor, protect your retirement by purchasing gold and silver. You can go to moneymetals.com, reach out to them, and they will help you set yourself up to protect you and your family from having to start all over from scratch. If you're a first-time buyer and you spend more than $100, use promo code Pimpy, P-I-M-P-Y, and they will send along with your order a free half ounce of silver. So folks, do yourself a favor, head on over to moneymetals.com and protect you and your family from a market crash, as well as inflation.
So head on over there to our friends at Money Metals Exchange. Right now is a good time. I cannot stress this enough. You will not understand the importance of gold and silver until they try to throw us into 100% digital currency. All right, for those of you looking for my address, there it is right here. And you guys know I have an alternative website where there's a lot of information, especially on the RONA, but we're going to be doing radio shows on there shortly, and I hope you guys tune in to check us out. So there's a bunch of different news in there that's really good, but let's just focus on this one article because this is a biggie. Academy advisor proposes a solution to reduce the value of the dollar. The value, or let me just repeat that, to reduce the value of the dollar, not the dinar, the dollar. Let me repeat that. Reduce the value of the dollar, not the dinar. This is the direction we want them to go into. The financial advisor to the Prime Minister, Sule, determined today, Monday, the extent of the possibility of relieving pressure on the operating budget and addressing the financial situation in the country while proposing solutions to support the private sector, reduce unemployment, and reduce the value of the dollar against the dinar. Whew, that's what we're talking about. I told you we're going to start getting into an area, a territory in which they need more purchasing power. They had a great year with the price of oil helping them out. They've been able to do a lot of things as far as starting private sector projects. But what good is it if your dollar doesn't have very much strength and it cannot purchase more items like it should? Didn't I tell you? The financial advisor to the Prime Minister, Soleil, said it is possible to benefit from the recovery in oil prices by moving stalled projects, attracting a workforce, and solving the problem of unemployment, which averages, now it's averaging, 450,000 workforce willing to work. Unemployment averages 450,000. That doesn't seem like very much. We come over here and we see what? We got 11 million people out of work. That's just, that's a nice low number if you ask me. But, I mean, compared to our population versus theirs, yeah, that's probably a lot. It says, and this results in the entire society. He pointed out the importance of spending additional rentier resources on projects that relieve pressure on the operating budget, noting that the operational budget includes dozens of decisions and laws and bears financial burdens and needs to double the 2021 budget to implement all of its requirements. You can either print more money or increase the dinar's purchasing power. Soleil explained, there is poor planning and well as the accumulation of, so it says like this, there is poor planning as well as accumulation of unemployment, and treatment cannot take place unless the state sets laws for the private sector, such as Social Security law, which grants privileges to its workers, including ensuring his retirement rights or her retirement rights, I gotcha, or transferring an employee from the private sector to the government and others. He added the additional resources of oil cannot be used without directives to manage them. So I agree. Look, he said this before. How they manage your money has to be fixed. It has to be different than what they used to do. There's a lot of money that went out of the government to frivolous projects and mismanaged projects. Has to be done better. The private sector has the ability and leadership, and money must be distributed to it within a specific plan and be in the form of soft, recoverable loans to preserve the wealth. As for the disbursement of the amounts as consumption, it's just a big loss for the future. So he's talking about what is the big loss is if they continue to just fund projects that are poorly planned and the money's really just going to waste. They have to do better about that. So, okay, I agree. And it looks like they're starting to turn the tide on a lot of this. He continued, the government today is shackled by thousands of decisions and laws to carry consumer spending burdens par excellent. Well, I mean, it should be par excellent. You don't want par poor. You know what I mean? It cannot be applied even if the price of barrel of oil reached $160, referring to the reasons for the adoption of legislation without studying the financial burdens and thus costing the state to carry out a review of those legislations. And therefore, today, the Ministry of Finance is unable to implement dozens of legislations due to financial burdens. So they have ideas within their white papers that could really help the economy of Iraq. But if there's piss poor planning and you have too much of this red tape to make it happen, it's just going to burden them. It's going to cost too much money. Delays cost money, for the record. And he indicated that the transfer of problems from one cycle to another has caused a major imbalance, as long-term plans that are governed by laws must be developed and adherent in order to rebuild the country properly. Noted that Iraq in recent years has followed a policy of deportation, and it must be replaced by a policy of communication. Meaning the government is changing with the continued implementation of the drawn plan. An example of this is the electricity sector, which has spent about $120 billion, not dinars, dollars. And so far, the country is unable to produce 20,000 megawatts per day. Yeah, that's actually really bad. So you get what he's saying? They're just crapping money and it's going anywhere. And they're not getting the results they need. It has to be better planned. It has to be worthwhile. If them financing or all they're doing is just pissing money away. And we don't want to see that happen. It says, on the extent of the possibility of reducing the value of the dollar against the dinar, the financial advisor said, the monetary policy depends on the amount of foreign reserves. Remember I said that's going to help them increase the value of their currency. Helps them increase the value of the dinar. You sound like a genius now, don't I? Just saying, just saying. So he says, depends on the amount of foreign reserves supporting the Iraqi dinar. That is, the efficiency of the reserves and their escalation towards safe lines. So, and again, as long as they're not screwing off the money, you know what I mean? And last time they had to sell a lot of their foreign reserves just to try to help pay employees. See, we don't want to run into these situations again. Now, they got the white papers out there. They're implementing things. A lot of the crime, a lot of the, I should say, corruption, it's not all gone. But a lot of steps Al-Qademi took. Remember when he said he replaced the 1,000 senior employees? Yeah, they're part of the corruption. Remember when he updated a lot of the ports, the way the computers working? He updated the software and inside banks too. And that helps reduce corruption as well. He added, there are expectations that the Iraq dinar will improve with the development of reserves, and this is up to the monetary policy, especially since the timing is appropriate and the opportunity is appropriate, provided that there is financial discipline and correct development, and without them, there is no value for any attempts. I agree. I told you guys, it ain't going to take no 5 years for them to increase the value. My thought was you would see it increase over time because as they continue to rebuild the country, they're going to need that purchasing power. It was necessary to reduce the value of the dinar just to get them from 2020 into 2021. But I did think sometime along in this 2021 year, they would increase the value and you would see it go up in increments. So that's why I keep telling you, don't get mad if there's no RI or no RV. I'm not saying those won't happen. But what I'm saying to you is, don't be surprised if you don't see it go up in increments. I'm just saying. He pointed out the 2022 budget will be subject to a great pressure, especially since the 2021 budget is built on deficit. But did they not cover the deficit? Remember, they're supposed to have a surplus. Stressing that the improvement in oil prices will reduce the deficit in the 2022 budget. But there is an expansion if it is achieved. The spending ceiling will be fixed, meaning that the increase in revenues with the increase of operational spending does not achieve anything, especially if it's not planned out. So, this is the same guy that used to write articles talking about it's not a good idea to increase the value of the dinar, not unless you have all your ducks in a row. We used to read these articles like every 6 months. So there was him and 2 other economists that used to say that all the time. People used to get pissy about their articles. So this does not mean they're going to increase the value of the dinar. He's saying we have the ability to do it if the following takes place. Okay, so let's feel good about that. I do think they're going to increase it though, I ain't going to lie. I thought they would have done it sometime this year, maybe towards the end of the year. But let's see if the value changes. Now, don't go looking for no $2, $3 or anything like that. If anything, they'll probably go back to the other rate. I know it's not what you wanted, but just hang tight, people. I'm telling you, as Iraq continues to rebuild, their country is going to need more and more purchasing power. But they need things in there to make sure that their economy stays stable. Foreign reserves have to increase. Oil has to be consistent. They have to build the private sector. They're starting to be more and more on the international scene. They seem to be taking a leadership role in the Middle East. They don't need ISIS or Al Qaeda or anybody else in there stirring up the pot. They need to be strong, secure, safe, back on the international scene, doing trades, and they've already been in the process. But most of all, in my opinion, we need to see Al Qaeda get back in there for reals. So there's a lot of other news that's good. The Arab Monetary Fund organizes a remotely course on investment alternatives in management of reserves. Now, for those who don't know who the Arab Monetary Fund is, it is a group of 22 or 23 of the Arab nations all came together to form this organization because they were having problems just trading with each other's countries and made it really hard because of the difference in values of their currency. So what the Arab Monetary Fund wanted to do was do everything it could to make sure a lot of the Arab nations' currencies were around the same value. I think there's only 3 of them that are not around anywhere between the 150 to 320 range. There's 3 of them that's really low, and Iraq's one of them. So again, they're trying to do everything possible to help bring them all together as far as closeness in currency value. So when they do trade, it's not so imbalanced. But they got their own thing going on. As a matter of fact, now I used to tell people what they want to do is when they deal amongst each other, in other words, when they deal with the other Arab nations within the Arab Monetary Fund, they use a whole separate currency called the Arab Accounting Dinar. So they have their own currency, but only to do trade. The trade is only amongst the Arab countries that are all part of the Arab Monetary Fund. Okay, so I don't want to get into this too much. It is good news, but I was really happy to read that, hey, look, Saleh is talking about increasing the value, but before you get too jumping up and doing the pimpy dance, hang tight, you guys, because we need these ducks to fall in a row. But I don't think this is not a one-time thing. I think you're going to start to see it slowly but surely go up in increments. So hang tight. It's going to happen, all right? Anyways, a nice article. I was happy to see it. Anyways, if you like the video, hit the thumbs up button. If you're not a subscriber, please do so, because when you do, it helps out the channel, and I surely do appreciate it. I'll catch you later. I'm out.